Lysander Spooner has many great distinctions in the history of political thought. For one thing, he was undoubtedly the only constitutional lawyer in history to evolve into an individualist anarchist. For another, he became steadily and inexorably more radical as he grew older. From the time that Benjamin R. Tucker founded the scintillating periodical Liberty in 1881, Spooner and Tucker were the two great theoreticians of the flourishing individualist anarchist movement, and this continued until Spooner's death in 1887 at the age of 79. Spooner and the younger Tucker differed on one crucial point, though on that point alone. Tucker was strictly and defiantly a utilitarian, whereas Spooner grounded his belief in liberty on a philosophy of natural rights and natural law. Unfortunately, Spooner's death left Tucker as the major influence on the movement, which quickly adopted the utilitarian creed, while Spooner's natural rights anarchism faded into the background. The present-day followers of Spooner and Tucker in the United States and England have also forgotten the fundamental natural rights grounding in Spooner, and have rested on the far more shaky and tenuous Tuckerian base of egoistic utilitarianism. Lysander Spooner published Natural Law, or the Science of Justice, as a pamphlet in 1882. The publisher was A. Williams and Company of Boston. The pamphlet had considerable influence among American and European anarchists of the day, and was reprinted in 3 editions in the 3 years following publication. Spooner meant the pamphlet to be the introduction to a comprehensive masterwork on the natural law of liberty, and it is a great tragedy of the history of political thought that Spooner never lived to complete the projected treatise. But what we have retains enduring value from the fact that, of all the host of Lockean natural rights theorists, Lysander Spooner was the only one to push the theory to its logical and infinitely radical conclusion: individualist anarchism. Those who are interested in delving further into Spooner's exhilarating writings will be greatly rewarded by reading his No Treason and his letter to Thomas E. Bayard, published together under the title No Treason. I will make some brief commentary on the terms anarchy and natural law due to the incorrect beliefs most people have in their minds regarding them. The condition referred to as anarchy is not the chaos and disorder that is portrayed by the media, politicians, and most people in general. We merely have to break the word down after looking at some related words. The word monarchy means one ruler or rule by one. The word oligarchy means a few rulers or rule by a few. The word anarchy literally means without rulers or without masters. However, there are still rules that are in place. This is where natural law comes into the picture, along with objective morality. This term does not mean that the law of the jungle or survival of the fittest concepts get applied to humanity. Among other fundamental principles, natural law refers to the truth that our rights exist inherently in nature itself and that morality is objective. Now, on to a short reading from Lysander Spooner's Natural Law, or the Science of Justice. The Science of Justice. The science of mine and thine, the science of justice, is the science of all human rights, of all a man's rights of person and property, of all his rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is the science which alone can tell any man what he can and cannot do, what he can and cannot have, what he can and cannot say without infringing the rights of another person. It is the science of peace, and the only science of peace, since it is the science which alone can tell us on what conditions mankind can live in peace, or ought to live in peace, with each other. These conditions are simply these. First, that each man shall do towards every other all that justice requires him to do, as for example, that he shall pay his debts, that he shall return borrowed or stolen property to its owner, and that he shall make reparation for any injury he may have done to the person or property of another. The second condition is that each man shall abstain from doing to another anything which justice forbids him to do, as for example, that he shall abstain from committing theft, robbery, arson, murder, or any other crime against the person or property of another. So long as these conditions are fulfilled, men are at peace, and ought to remain at peace with each other. But when either of these conditions is violated, men are at war, and they must necessarily remain at war until justice is reestablished. Through all time, so far as history informs us, wherever mankind have attempted to live in peace with each other, both the natural instincts and the collective wisdom of the human race have acknowledged and prescribed as an indispensable condition obedience to this one only universal obligation, that each should live honestly towards every other. The ancient maxim makes the sum of a man's legal duty to his fellow men to be simply this: to live honestly, to hurt no one, to give to everyone his due. The entire maxim is really expressed in the single words, to live honestly, since to live honestly is to hurt no one and give to everyone his due. Well, we'll end the reading right there. I do encourage others to finish reading the document. There is a link in the description to the Natural Law or the Science of Justice PDF. Spooner's writings also include an abolitionist book called The Unconstitutionality of Slavery, and another one called No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority. So we'll leave it at that. I urge you to explore Lysander Spooner a little more. And I will make one last commentary, one last note. People shouldn't take the use of the word man and men in Spooner's writings as any sort of dismissal of women. The term is used as a catch-all for human or humans. As a true anarchist, all humans are free individuals, and I would contend this is exactly what Spooner meant and believed. It was also fairly common in that time to just use the term man or men to refer to all humans. So with that, I'll let you go. Thanks for listening. Take care.